Lionel's is a great place for brunch, lunch, or dinner. If it's good enough for us, it's good enough for you, because we've got your black. So head on over to Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles and tell Lionel you heard about it on KBLA Talk 1580.
First things first.
Things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not doing settle you. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis. First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is called First Things First, and my first thing today and every day, giving thanks, giving praises, and asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders. And let's go. It's a Talking Point Tuesday around here. This is the day when we debunk things that need to be debunked, and there are many right now. Always enlisting your help in that effort. You can call me at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580, any hour, and talk about a thing that's on your mind or get into the conversation that we're having. The way we do the show on a Talking Point Tuesday, hour one, we typically look left coast, what's happening out here. Hour two, we go national, international, and beyond. And hour three, we do a deep dive with a hot topic or a person of interest or all of the above. We're pretty much on that vibe today. We are really, I'm really excited to talk to Dr. Ricky Vincent in our final hour, where we will pay tribute to Sly Stone, rest in peace, and have some Black Music Month conversation / morning / appreciation on this day. Hour two will be joined by Attorney Nana Gyamfi, who is the Executive Director of Black Alliance for Just Immigration. Take a look at what's happening in these West Coast streets and these global streets, really, as the aggressive anti-Black policies of this administration are coming to light, and the anti-everybody who's not white agenda of the immigration policy gets played out in the Los Angeles streets. You're always invited in. Like I said, I also invite you on socials. We're at KBLA 1580 on all platforms. You can comment. I'll see it. You can also go directly to me at diprimaradio, DIPRIMA, and then radio. Please like, follow, subscribe, and all the good stuff. We appreciate you. Makes us stronger. Yes, I do have a YouTube channel, and I would love it if you would follow me. Right now, though, I'm honored to start the conversation with a longtime activist and media person. He's a radio and TV host, a political analyst, and a commentator, graduate of the University of the District of Columbia. He's been honored many, many times, but almost 12 years ago was honored for 25 years of crusading journalism at the NAACP convention in Orlando. He went to Georgetown School of Foreign Service, got a bachelor's in journalism, and earned a master's in divinity as a bison. Reverend Mark Thompson, Matsimela, Mapfumo, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. Good morning. And, I was hearing the rundown how you do each hour. So, yeah, and you asked me to join you this morning, and good morning to the whole KBLA family. But I really want to listen to you and the family with all that's happening out there. I was, full disclosure, I didn't get to tell you this. I was there Friday, briefly. I came in for the State of the People tour where Kamala Harris spoke at the Seed School in L.A. Shout out to her and the whole State of the People organizing crew, Angela Ryan, everybody. And I caught a red eye back. I had to get back for my son's birthday. And Melina Abdullah came, and she had been there Friday at some of the anti-ICE protests and got tear gassed. And then I guess what? The next day I left, I guess Saturday or Sunday, Trump calls in, first federalizes the National Guard. Now he's deploying Marines, all of these things in violation of posse comitatus, which you really can't do. You really can't do that. There's no reason to do that. But, I'm sorry I'm not there. I wish I was still there just to be there on the ground and to see what is going on. But I'm sure it's something you and your listeners have been talking about for the past couple of days, Dominique. But again, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we have been talking about it for the past couple of days. And when we look at this idea of a talking point Tuesday, the way that this administration is spinning this particular situation, it's the gap between what they're putting forth and the reality is so wide. I mean, usually, they lie. Usually this president lies, but this is just on a next level. I mean, he said that the National Guard had gotten the protesters under control when the National Guard wasn't even on the ground yet. The protest is not at all. I mean, of course, national news took a couple of pieces of clashes with cops and played them over and over again. But by and large, they are not out of control. Our city is peaceful. It's so.
Right.
And I suppose, and I'll be interested to hear your take on this, that part of it is because the president and the administration are trying to justify bringing in the National Guard, federalizing the National Guard, and bringing the military and the U.S. Marines to deal with U.S. citizens, because my understanding is that is only supposed to be for a state of emergency.
Right. And 2 points here. I mean, two ways to look at this. And in case of an insurrection, isn't that something? He would not call up the National Guard nor the military on January 6th. But now, I want everybody to be clear about this. This is his moment of get back and retaliation. He's on get back time. Okay, you all called what my people did January 6th. This is what he's saying, an insurrection. But this is an insurrection, and I'm going to exercise federalizing the National Guard and calling up the Marines for this. So let's everybody be very, very clear about that. That is how petty and childish that he is. That's number one. Number two, and I wonder if you'll have the same reaction to this that I did, because it was sort of a revelation to me, and I'm a little embarrassed. I didn't just realize this myself. Was talking to my dear friend and someone whom we all also know and love, Dr. Benjamin Chavis of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. And this is when the president of South Africa was visiting, and Trump was, saying all kind of crazy things to him. He said, Matsimela, you have to remember, this guy is a wannabe entertainer celebrity. He will say and do anything to dominate the daily news cycle. I thought about that. Yeah, that's real. That's the point. So now what do we have? We have Governor Newsom saying well, they moved some Marines around to another base, but they really aren't. He says they're doing law enforcement. He and Hegseth are saying they're doing law enforcement, but they really aren't per se. I mean, that's what they're saying. Some of you on the ground may know something different. But for him to say that, that's the news cycle. Whatever he can do, because let's face it, everybody, we cannot turn on. A lot of us can't even watch the news anymore. We can't turn on the news without seeing his face with the makeup and the hair. He's got to be there, and that is what plays to his base. Even if there's nothing really going, like you said, LA's peaceful. But to the outside world, to his base, he's putting down an insurrection, and he's capturing everybody in the streets, and the National Guard and the Marines, and all of that. Rambo, that plays, and it keeps that out there. And unfortunately, last thing I'll say, the corporate media loves it. They love the attention they love the looks and the clickbait that he offers, and that is why he is still there.
Yeah, well,
why he's reelected.
Yeah, it's working, right? The theater that he does is working. The fact of the matter is, there were no protests until ICE came and started detaining kids at schools and people who were compliant with the law at courthouses and on job sites. So the idea that they're sending in the National Guard to quell some kind of insurrection is crazy, because there was nothing happening until ICE came in and started violating people's rights. And then we reacted when masked law enforcement came in. Then we reacted. That's not the same as an insurrection. That's called us reacting and exercising our right to protest. And although there have been some clashes, I mean, there's nothing unusual, out of the ordinary for the level of protests that the LAPD and other cities have dealt with over the years. Interesting that the president is pressuring our police chief to ask for the National Guard, and I believe that's because he doesn't think the courts are going to back him up on this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good. Now say what you said again. You said masked.
Yeah, many of the ICE agents that walk around, they have on masks. They're not showing their faces. And it is very, clearly it's about intimidation and scaring people. And even our mayor has said that. We spoke to her on Sunday. We did a special here at KBLA Talk 1580. Talk to the mayor, talk to the sheriff, talk to the city attorney and others. And in fact, I'll share some of that audio with you later today. But clearly it was about intimidation. Now the Pentagon is sending in the Marines, as you referenced, 700 from Camp Pendleton now, even though the governor says they're just sitting around with nothing to do for the most part. Yeah.
But again, it's all for show. What was one of those popular shows, in the 90s, I guess it was. I think I'm right about that. I don't even remember, but it was Cops.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he does. This is what they do. This is what, and that plays to that very base, keeps them mobilized. Look what Trump is doing. But I want everybody to remember, when January 6th happened, and people saying, you need to do something, he would not budge. This is the starkest display of him as the walking paradox and contradiction that he is. The challenge for us is, how do we shut this down? How do we, and I admire, look, people need to be out there. People need to be exercising their rights, First Amendment right to protest, the right to participate in nonviolent civil disobedience, which people have been doing. That's fine, and people should be exercising those rights, and they should not be harmed for doing that. They should not be kept from doing that. That is their constitutional right, and I hope you're right that the courts aren't going to let him get away with this. But I'll just throw this out there. We've got to be thinking long term. I was saying to some colleagues who work in the courtrooms, and they're dealing with these fires right before us. But let me tell you what you need to do. There's a group of y'all that needs to go further down the road. So what do you mean by that? You all need to develop the legal strategy and argument to prevent him from staying in office. He does not plan to leave at all. He plans to stay. And it got real quiet. I said, well, Mark, so that's everybody. Everybody thinks every day there's something that happens is unbelievable that we're not prepared for. Let's stop doing that. Let's get prepared for what we know his aspirations are. And that aspiration to not leave, to serve another term, or to serve endless terms like Putin, won't leave. He's about to have a military parade in Washington, D.C., the place of my birth, where I fought for D.C. statehood for years. Still doesn't have it. It's going to cost millions of dollars, do millions of dollars of damage to the streets of Washington, D.C. when you roll tanks and all these military vehicles through civilian streets where people have to drive to work and school every day. A major undertaking, millions of dollars. Where did he get that from? He got it from Red Square. He got it from Moscow. He got it from what Putin does and what Soviet leadership has done for decades. This is him playing out this fantasy of being that Soviet ruler, and also manifesting, confirming what we know about who he really works for. So this is not. It's not funny. It's not fun. It's not interesting. It's not something for the corporate media just to be like, oh, look at the spectacle. Look at the spectacle. Look at the spectacle. No, this must be challenged and it must be stopped.
800-920-1580. That's the number if you want to weigh in. We're talking with Reverend Mark Thompson, Matsimela, just unpacking what's going on. This is local, but it's also national at the same time, and it certainly has implications for the future of our country in many, many areas. We'll keep this going when we continue on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Are you ready to play? Then jump into the LA 84 Foundation's free Playday Block Party, a community celebration for all ages, including live music, dancing, LA's pro sports teams, great local food trucks, plus special giveaways for you to take home. Enjoy an exciting, fun-filled day for the entire family. Join us Saturday, June 28th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 2141 West Adams Boulevard. To register, go to la84.org. We'll see you Saturday, June 28th at LA 84 Foundation's free Playday Block Party.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to join us on Saturday, June the 14th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. as we cut the ribbon on the brand new Enel Woods Park at 8703 South McKinley Avenue. Thanks to a generous donation from Heal the Bay, the park features smart irrigation, stormwater capture systems, and space for local wildlife to thrive. And we've built a walking trail, picnic areas, native landscaping, and quiet spaces for families to gather, relax, and connect. This is part of a much larger effort to expand green spaces across South LA with 3 new parks in the works, a first-of-its-kind community center coming soon, and plans to connect it all through the South LA Greenway. So mark your calendar for Saturday, June 14th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and come celebrate a greener, stronger South LA at Enel Woods Park. I'm also pleased to sponsor the Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium, moderated by Tavis Smiley, live on C-SPAN, Wednesday, June the 18th, from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Just a reminder to sign up right away at the KBLA1580.com website to join me, Mayor Karen Bass, Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager Dove, Tennessee State Representative Justin Pearson, Dr. Cornel West, former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., the Sierra Club's Ben Jealous, and other black influencers in the climate and health fields, as we continue to amplify the connection between climate and poor health outcomes for our people. Thank you for listening. I'm Councilman Curran Price.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Reverend Mark Thompson, Matsimela Mapfumo is with me. He's a longtime journalist, activist, and of course, a reverend, as the name says. A lot of things to unpack here, and one of them is the arrest of David Huerta, president of the Service Employees International Union of California. He was arrested outside of a facility where ICE was so-called investigating the criminals that were working there. We really, by criminal, they just mean people who migrate, whether they follow the rules or not. But now he's been released. They held Huerta all weekend. He's been released, but they're charging him with a felony. They're charging him with conspiracy to impede an officer, and those charges carry up to 6 years in federal prison. Labor leaders came from all over the country to sit at his hearing. There were state lawmakers. They were not allowed in to the hearing. It was a protest outside. He was released on a $50,000 bond, and they're saying one of the conditions is he can't get within 100 yards of federal agents or operations. You certainly have worked with labor leaders over the years and seen labor involved in protest and different kinds of organizing actions. What's your read on this?
Well, first of all, I have a question for you. If charged with impeding a federal officer, not a local police officer, correct?
Yes.
Is that okay? All right. So that does make a difference. Well, I think what we know, again, this is a targeted attack on a union where that represents a lot of people in not only the LA area, but people who often are Latino, let's face it. So that's a target. He's a target. And they're a target for who they represent. And again, these are many healthcare workers, many home healthcare workers, and we know what those demographics are. The Trump administration is attacking all people of color, but particularly at this moment, our Latino and Latina sisters and brothers, our brown sisters and brothers. One of the things that I'm most moved by and proud of is how we in the black community stand with and for others, particularly other people of color. Now, I know we can talk about it. It's a whole other conversation about how sometimes that's not reciprocated. But we've always been big enough to do that, even when people haven't always stood with us. What non-Palestinian group has been more supportive of the Palestinian people than African Americans and black people? What non-Spanish speaking group has been more supportive of the Latino and Latina community than us, than African Americans, than black people? So, I think that's right.
I mean, but also, Reverend, if you look at the Black Lives Matter protests of 2020, there were a lot of Latinos marching, and there were a lot of Palestinians.
Yes.
So maybe there are times when it's not reciprocated, but I feel like that is overplayed, and many times we skip past the times when it is reciprocated. In the long history, if you talk about Palestinians, that's an alliance between African Americans and Palestinians that goes back before our time on the mic.
Oh yeah, sure. No, and I don't mean to say it's never reciprocated. No, you're absolutely right. And you read my mind. Actually, in 2020, it was most reciprocated. But there have been some occasions, in fairness, and not major. And really, those who are in movement Huerta, SEIU, we're always going to be in solidarity. That's just where it's at. But let's face this too, though. Particularly in the Latino community, they are being targeted for division from us. And again, that's not to single them out. What are we watching on social media? Brown folks and black folk being pitted against one another. And also to be fair, in that respect, we have black folk on social media saying, well, they are taking our jobs. No, they aren't. But those are paid influencers that come out of that Trump influence. And then the same people who have black men on social media pitted against black women. We saw that phenomenon. That was just enough to do harm to our sister Kamala Harris. So you're gonna have some of that. But those who've always been there are always going to be there. And that is the case here. And I'm glad that in L.A., people are still standing together despite the divisiveness on Musk's and Zuckerberg's social media.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, there are some that are taking that position hardcore here, that, Latinos have called us the N-word, or they haven't always stood with us, or folks voted, Latino men voted for Trump. But many times I think folks are not looking at the solidarity and the wins that we've had together. And here in Los Angeles, those are considerable. We've got news, traffic, and sports right now. Then we'll continue this conversation. You're invited in, 800-920-1580. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Alexandria Icamoni with BIN News Now. The U.S. Attorney General says a person who allegedly threw rocks at federal law enforcement vehicles during protests in Los Angeles County has been identified. She says federal authorities will prosecute protesters who commit crimes.
You can run, you can't hide. We are coming after you federally. If you assault a police officer, if you rob a store, if you loot, if you spit on a police officer, we're coming after you.
Diddy and his legal team are once again asking for a mistrial. The defense attorney claimed that the government committed misconduct by providing the prosecution with evidence that they knew was false. The material in question involves the allegations that Diddy dangled someone from an apartment balcony. Many black people are still processing the death of music icon Sly Stone. Sly and the Family Stone had hits like Family Affair and Everyday People. Get BIN News Now on demand on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Coco Gauff's championship victory in the French Open Saturday morning set up an interesting development in women's professional tennis. The first two Grand Slam events in 2025 have been won by African Americans. Madison Keys, a 30-year-old African American from Rock Island, Illinois, won the Australian Open in January. Coco and Keys will be contenders at Wimbledon and the U.S. Open, the remaining two Grand Slam tournaments this year. Both are ranked among the top 10 in the world. Coco is number 2, Keys is 8th. With the $2.9 million she earned for winning the French Open, Coco's career earnings are now at $8.4 million since turning pro in 2019. Coco donated $100,000 to the United Negro College Fund to help support HBCU tennis programs. She also got the U.S. Tennis Association to commit $3 million to rebuild tennis courts in minority communities around the country. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attention. If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance. And you better watch out, because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from Nitsa and the Ad Council.
1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again. Holla.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DiPrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
We love you. Love you.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Reverend Mark Thompson, Matsimela, Mapfumo is here with me. You're invited in at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. So, Reverend, you started off talking about this idea of posse comitatus,
Right.
which really the simple version of it means that they're not supposed to be sending the military into our streets, that against the American citizens, right? This is something, it's an old post-Reconstruction law. And it seems like the president is in violation of this right now. Our Governor Gavin Newsom, has called his deployment of U.S. Marines a terrible abuse of power. The president has called for the arrest of our governor. Our governor has pretty much said, bring it on, arrest me, stop detaining 9-year-old children at schools. And so this rhetoric is ramping up and up and up. But how is he getting away with this? It seems like the president just says there's an emergency anytime he wants to do something, and pretty much goes around the norms or the laws by saying, oh, there's a trade emergency, there's an emergency at the border, there's a fentanyl emergency. When there is no emergency, there is, to be clear, there is no emergency in LA. I live here. I walk around here. There's no emergency. So how is he getting away with this?
Well, and to be clear, the lawsuit that your state has filed said it's a violation of the 10th Amendment, which falls under states' rights. And again, another paradox, because what do Republicans always support? States' rights over and above the federal government, but we're going to violate states' rights in the case of California. He is exploiting everything, every loophole, I should say, in the Constitution. Because even when a court says, and the Supreme Court has said, you got to do certain things, he says, I'm just not going to do it. And there's no enforcement power. And we're looking at other countries now that have enforcement powers when it comes to the chief executive. The president of South Korea ousted. Marine Le Pen in France shut down. And so he is testing the limits of our Constitution. And frankly, I think this is a revelatory moment for us all. Now, what was the argument during our civil rights movement, and even especially with Brown? Separate is inherently unequal. The whole civil rights movement was built on what Dr. King said April 4, 1968, making you true to what you said on paper. That paper being the Constitution. Trump is showing, well, that paper doesn't mean anything. And if that paper doesn't mean anything, then what do we really have here? What really exists? Does it only exist on paper in the context of just some ceremony? Because that's what he's exposing. That's not going to work, and it only is going to hasten a situation of anarchy, which he would love. He loved January 6th. He would love for that to happen every day, for there to be some type of uprising of his people. But you're right. There's been no a real rebellion, so to speak, or uprising. Shoot, y'all know what a rebellion is in LA. We know what that is.
Yeah, we've seen it. We've been there and done that. And it may happen again, but this ain't it.
This ain't it. No, this is not it right now. And he may be flashing back from that. He may be saying, "Oh, what is LA? I'm just going to do it." And again, that's stereotypical. Just because of LA's demographic composition, just by its very existence, it's a rebellion.
But the problem with that, Reverend, is that the rebellion or the protest didn't start until they brought in ICE. It was not already starting, and they brought, like in 92 or 65, where police pushed us to the point where, there was a rebellion and it was already, the streets were going crazy. No, everything was peaceful and calm. Then you brought in ICE and they started arresting children and workers at Home Depots and trying to, detain people at courtrooms. And then we responded. That is not the same. And it's a talking point Tuesday, so I have to keep pointing that out because I feel like their talking point is LA's out of control. Number one, it's not out of control. Number two, we were responding to their violence and their repression, not the other way around.
Well, and folks, let me just say this. Let's go back and look at the etymological connotation of the term riot to begin with. Even when black folks were accused of riots over the years, that was something that was put on us. But the reality is this. When you go back and you look in the late 1800s and early 1900s, the term riot, even in journalism, was most often and almost exclusively applied, that terminology riot, to law enforcement rioting against civilians who were African American. The police would riot. That was the headline. Police riot. Law enforcement riot. And as you said, what happened in L.A., even in the 60s and the 90s, that was, Rodney King was a police riot. That's what that was. ICE coming in to L.A., raiding schools and people's places of work, was a law enforcement, was a police riot. That is the riot, not us. And so, of course, what does a white supremacist like Trump do? Flip it And corporate America is not going to explain it the way I explain. I'm not making that up, y'all. Y'all can look that up. You look at old headlines. Look at the black press. Look at the white press. That was what the right. Now wait a minute. Now what do we say about Tulsa? We say riot. That was done to us, not to them. It's interesting how we still call Tulsa a riot, and then we talk about what happens in L.A. and it's two different connotations. So that is what he has done. That is what he is doing. He's playing that word game, and it's working because, again, the corporate media is doing. I wanted to say one other thing, Dominic, to the point of what's happening on social media and the divisiveness and the disinformation. If people don't always say, oh, well, brother, you exaggerating this. And let me prove this to y'all. This is going to prove it to you. Right now, there are people on social media, and I'm sure you've heard about this, Dominic, if you haven't covered it already. They have black folk on social media saying that Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth were not real people. Now, if that doesn't awaken you to how these platforms that Musk and Zuckerberg have us hooked in on are causing chaos and confusion. These are the same platforms.
We haven't talked a lot about it, but I have seen it. And, it's also interesting that this is happening, of course, at a time when those platforms are backing off of fact-checking.
Thank you. So, folks, this is why I'm doing a commercial for you. This is why what's happening here, this show, KBLA, what Dominique DiPrima is doing, what this whole network is doing, what Dr. Chavis and the Black Press, this is why we must come back home to our institutions who still practice journalism and practice journalism with integrity. This is your source for fact-checking. We haven't said one word on here that we made up. We don't have to. The truth is, on its own, is enough. That's overwhelming enough. We don't have to make stuff up. We don't have to sensationalize stuff. We don't have to make stuff up to get people. Come back home and tell all your friends too. We got to get free of the doom scrolling. Just scroll. Filling our heads up with false. These people taking my jobs. No, they aren't. They really aren't.
So, since you brought it up, I guess we can address this on the other side. I just don't want to forget, because you're a long-time journalist, that in the doom scrolling days, there's also I feel like it's getting more and more restrictive for journalists. ABC News' suspension of Terry Moran because of a social media post about Stephen Miller, to me, is part of a long series of attacks on mainstream media by this administration, including in the courts, including those legal threats that have led networks to basically pay off the president. And I'm wondering what you think this means for the non-social media journalism, the so-called traditional press, and its supposed lack of bias. And you see CNN, ABC, you can clearly, if you're like me and you who reads this stuff and watches it all the time, you can clearly see the tacking to the right.
Again, keyword, Russia, y'all. Russia. No media independence, crack down on the media. So you have all of this, and this is still along the subject line of what we're discussing now in L.A. So you're going to bring in the military, you're going to have military parades, you're going to crack down on media. Now, what helps in this country helps the corporate or so-called legacy media play along with him is because they want things too. They want to be able to sell properties, sell assets, combine different stations, get rid of folk. I mean, that's one. Nothing's been more controversial than the firing of Joy Reid. Well, what do we know about that? If Universal wants to shut that down, shutter MSNBC, or sell it or do whatever, you curry favor with this administration's FAA by doing those type of things, by cracking down on Terry Moran and someone saying something that is the truth. Stephen Miller is a hateful person. So you crack down on that so that you can say, look, Mr. Trump, this is what I did. Let me pay you off. This is for whatever we might have said about you. This is what we did. help us out when we want to make some type of corporate business decision. Look the other way. We want your FAA to approve it. That's really what's going on, and people are currying that favor on purpose. So now we have, when Russia is state-controlled media, I mean, we're getting close to that. It's softer, but we don't really want to believe this is America. That doesn't happen in America. This can't be. Let's open our eyes, folks. Let's open that third eye, especially, because that's exactly what is going on. There is no more control, no more accountability. The folks still fixated on Joe Biden's health and whether or not he was fit. But he didn't call out the Marines on anybody. He didn't send ICE agents to raid people. And we're talking about his fitness still. Jake Tapper's selling a book on his fitness. Again, that's Jake Tapper currying favor. We can do a whole show on him, but let me stop because I know too much.
I would love to hear that show, boy. I would love to hear that show.
I'm gonna say one thing. I'm gonna leave you with this. We can do a show on this later. We can do a whole expert. Jake Tapper is singularly responsible for destroying the Women's March movement.
Wow.
He did that. Now we can. I'll just leave it. I'll put that tease out there so y'all want to follow. That way y'all have to bring me back so we have something else to talk about. But but if you want to have a whole talk on that, we can do that because I was there, in it and saw it.
Yeah.
I said, Jake, why don't you come on my show and talk? Oh, he didn't want to do that when I was still with Sirius XM. But that's a whole other conversation. That he targeted it, took it out. So, but you're writing books about that. We are witnessing a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act, right? But if Joe Biden had done that, if Barack Obama had done that, if President Kamala Harris, who should have been the president, had done that, come on now. But that media was dealing with people who were going to be fair and above board. This guy didn't play fair, so they got to do dirty little tricks, go behind our backs, cut deals, fire Joy Reid, suspend Terry Moran, do all these things because they want to curry favor with this Russian puppet regime. I said it. I still believe with the research of Malcolm Nance and what was said out there, and Trump probably has a W-2 from Moscow.
Kevin Haynes in our YouTube chat says, isn't there audio of Sojourner Truth in the early 20th century? Yes, is the answer to that. And we have photos of Harriet Tubman. But they'll still lie. I mean, they lie about what's happening in L.A. right now. They lied about my brother, Raz Baraka, when supposedly storming an ICE center when there's videotape. So why would that stop the Trump administration from lying? By the way, it's election day in New Jersey. So Raz Baraka for governor, razforgovernor.com. If you want to, support an amazing leader who's currently in a pretty hotly contested primary. We'll continue our conversation with Reverend Mark Thompson, Matsimela, Mapfumo, when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
The doctor's office that accidentally mixed up your files has your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport number. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that can expose you to identity thieves. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Are you ready to play? Then jump into the LA 84 Foundation's free Playdate Block Party, a community celebration for all ages, including live music, dancing, LA's pro sports teams, great local food trucks, plus special giveaways for you to take home. Enjoy an exciting, fun-filled day for the entire family. Join us Saturday, June 28th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 2141 West Adams Boulevard. To register, go to la84.org. We'll see you Saturday, June 28th at LA 84 Foundation's free Playdate Block Party. Every mother deserves a healthy and joyous pregnancy and birth, and every baby deserves to thrive. That's why the Los Angeles County Abundant Birth Project is here. The Abundant Birth Project is a guaranteed income program that provides cash during pregnancy to pregnant individuals at the highest risk of preterm and low birth rate babies. Although program enrollment has closed, our commitment to Black joy and thriving continues. Through tailored services that foster mental well-being and community-based resources, we provide care and support during pregnancy and after the baby is born to help build brighter futures for our families. Join us in celebrating abundant births in LA County. For more information, please visit abundantbirthproject.org. abundantbirthproject.org.
Oh, these polymers aren't as flexible as batch K3.
Researcher Laurie is stretched thin.
Did you get the vulcanization analytics from V66? Oh, wait, are these rubber scores from last week?
She needs to hire new lab technicians so she can bounce back into her old self.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our matching platform lets you spend less time searching and more time connecting with candidates. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Here at Total Wine & More, our amazing selection means you'll always
love what you find.
Dad, what are you doing here?
Just getting a sneak peek at my Father's Day gifts.
Well, I was thinking of getting you this Barrel Select bourbon.
That's a really nice bottle.
And Total Wine has it at the totally lowest price.
Wow, you always were my favorite.
Thanks, Dad.
Talking to the bourbon, sweetie.
Find what you love what you find. Like the perfect gift for Dad at the perfect price. Only at Total Wine & More.
And drink responsibly. B21.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Man, our KBLA 4th anniversary is literally days away because it is Juneteenth. I can't believe it's been 4 years. Well, we got 4 events for those 4 years. You're invited. All the events are free. They're going to be amazing. The thing is, they are filling up fast and we need you to register. So you're invited. It's free. Pick between all 4 or just one that you want to come to. You just got to go to KBLA1580.com. We want to celebrate with you. And if you're planning to join our barbecue on the actual Juneteenth day, we want everyone, if you can, to bring a food cart of any amount for either a grocery chain or a restaurant, because we are still helping those who are displaced by the wildfires in Altadena. Please go to KBLA1580.com. You could do it right now. You're not that late for work. And sign up for the events you plan to attend. I can't wait to see you there. We have got some incredible events, but I don't want you to get left out. KBLA1580.com and register. Man, I feel like we have so much more to talk about. Reverend Mark Thompson, Matsimela, Mapfumo is with me, and I almost don't know where to go. Someone in the chat brought up the Zoot Suit riots. To your point about riots, for those not familiar, that was a series of riots that happened in June of 1943, where UMS servicemen who were stationed here went around and angry white people went around attacking Latinos who had on Zoot Suits, stripping them naked, beating them up. And this is something that was then duplicated in other cities. And I guess Mr. Cavett is bringing that up in the chat in response to your comments about police riots and race riots, which are typically not us rioting.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. So there's something called the Insurrection Act of 1792. I was just reading this in Reuters, an interesting bit of history. It has rarely ever been invoked, and the Trump administration is really not even invoking it now. The last time, believe it or not, the Insurrection Act of 1792 was invoked was in 1992 during the rebellion in L.A. after Rodney King, And that was at the request of the governor at that time. That was the last time it was invoked by George Bush. Now, the last time, another bit of interesting bit of trivia in case anybody's ever on Jeopardy. The last time a president sent federal troops and deployed the National Guard without the governor's request, which is a requirement by law. We'll see what the court does. Without the governor's request was in 1965 on the march from Selma to Montgomery. It has not happened since then. So Trump is doing that now for the first time. Lyndon Johnson invoked it to combat white supremacy. Trump is invoking it and doing this to uphold white supremacy.
Yeah, it's a great distinction. And we got a minute and a half here. I got 300 questions for you, but I'd rather just hand you the mic. You mentioned, how important our black media is, and certainly you're at the center of that. So let people know how they can stay in touch with you and the work that you and Mr. Chavez are doing.
Well, folks, blackpressusa.com is where you can get black news every day and support all the black papers. Support the black papers out there, including your own. My man, Danny Bakewell. Good God. Woo! And KBLA and what Tavis is doing with Dominique. This is very, very important. Black radio has always been salvific and liberating for us. And so we must keep it alive. We must support our black press and those who choose to advertise in our black press, those who are supporting us. That's a big deal as well. That doesn't grow on trees either. They could, if they could, they wipe us all out. But we're not going to let them do it. And you've heard it here, folks. You've heard the facts here. There's no rebellion. There was a response to the police ICE riot that has been taking place, and there should be. And Trump has no right to do what he's doing. And folks, let's just keep fighting. We've been here before. I know folks are down, and some folks are still depressed from the election and don't know what's happening. But we have been here before as a people. We've won before. We beat Ronald Reagan. We can beat Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think that's right. Reverend Mark Thompson, Matsimela, Mapfumo, thank you so much for being with me this morning.
Happy to be here anytime. Love you all. Love the whole family at KBLA.
We love you back. We'll be talking with attorney Nana Jomfi of Black Alliance for Just Immigration. She's been on the ground in these streets in L.A. and we'll have some direct reporting for us. That's next on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Alexandria Ikamoni with BIN News Now. The U.S. Attorney General says a person who allegedly threw rocks at federal law enforcement vehicles during protests in Los Angeles County has been identified. She says federal authorities will prosecute protesters who commit crimes.
You can run, you can't hide. We are coming after you federally. If you assault a police officer, if you rob a store, if you loot, if you spit on a police officer, we're coming after you.
Diddy and his legal team are once again asking for a mistrial. The defense attorney claimed that the government committed misconduct by providing the prosecution with evidence that they knew was false. The material in question involves the allegations that Diddy dangled someone from an apartment balcony. Many black people are still processing the death of music icon Sly Stone. Sly and the Family Stone had hits like Family Affair and Everyday People. Get BIN News Now on demand on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Coco Gauff's championship victory in the French Open Saturday morning set up an interesting development in women's professional tennis. The first two Grand Slam events in 2025 have been won by African Americans. Madison Keys, a 30-year-old African American from Rock Island, Illinois, won the Australian Open in January. Coco and Keys will be contenders at Wimbledon and the U.S. Open, the remaining two Grand Slam tournaments this year. Both are ranked among the top 10 in the world. Coco is number 2, Keys is 8th. With the $2.9 million she earned for winning the French Open, Coco's career earnings are now at $8.4 million since turning pro in 2019. Coco donated $100,000 to the United Negro College Fund to help support HBCU tennis programs. She also got the U.S. Tennis Association to commit $3 million to rebuild tennis courts in minority communities around the country. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
LA's newest soul food restaurant is getting spectacular reviews. Great place with amazing food. The Sunday champagne brunch is fabulous. I saw the place on IG. We tried it for lunch. We were blown away by the food and the service. The restaurant has an inviting atmosphere and a dynamic vibe. Over the years, Lionel has catered most major Black events in Los Angeles, including all of our KBLA Talk 1580 gatherings. But now he has his own spot, Lionel's Soul Food Cuisine, and you need to check it out at 8501 South Vermont Avenue in Los Angeles. Oxtails, baked or fried chicken, meatloaf, turkey chops, pork chops, catfish, short ribs, and all the fixins. Collard greens, mac and cheese, yams, red beans, black-eyed peas, and delicious desserts. Lionel's is a great place for brunch, lunch, or dinner. If it's good enough for us,